The bathroom holds tension between intimate inner life and outward conventions for being in the city. Our reading of this room's social genesis and infrastructural relations has produced an interdependent relationship between residence and bathhouse. Communal infrastructure returns a presence of body to the city and of civic belonging to bodies.
The contemporary bathroom with which we are familiar is a tightly composed series of objects within a sealed container. In Michael Maltzon's Star Apartments, housing affordability shrinks the living footprint to an absolute minimum, while the bathroom is held stable by the invisible clearances of ADA code. Sue Fujimoto's concept for an outdoor train stop bathroom further offsets the fixture, isolating it within a distantly fenced landscape. From this context, we assert that if the bathroom were blown apart into a set of small and specific plumbed objects, life could flow more freely among them.
Our residence establishes three kinds of environments for this life around water. The apartment is a free plane supported by infrastructural stacks that hold a small shower, a water closet, and a sink. The subterranean bathhouse supports this efficiency by returning an unfussy sociability. Here, a cycle of exercise, rest, and hygiene is accessible to residents of the house and of the city at large. A public laundry frees space upstairs while connecting bath and house to the park. Domestic labor is aided and celebrated where drying sheets and clothing hang like curtains.
We are familiar with another public role for the bathroom. First enclosed as an indoor space for intensely private and gendered bodily functions in the 20th century, the bathroom has recently reemerged as the most photographed room in the house, an intensely aestheticized reflection of persona out into the digital world. A study of the Kardashian West bathroom shows the entanglement of many vascular systems. This sits in contrast with a monastic minimalism that communicates luxury through identification with the owner's personal branding and media presence.
The bath has long been a site for the creation of a social self. We look to the banya, an engine for producing the bodies of Soviet men and women through common hygiene and exercise. The radial arrangement of chambered functions is a clear diagram of the cyclic image of health and citizenship. The onsen similarly stages immersion, temperature, and the performance of bodily maintenance in a series of environments. A form of bathhouse that mediates the body's care within society can be found within any city's history. Tiny tiles scale down wet space to register the human body as it progresses through bathing rituals in clean, unfancy rooms.
Returning a bathhouse to Boston requires us to ask what public and private roles for bodies will register here and now. What relationships with infrastructure are visible and necessary for life against a rising sea?
We embed this building in the waterfront, fully receptive to tides and flooding. It forms a sheltered path against the seawall and unites the public docks, promenades, and water utilities for the park along a singular urban transect.
Beneath the park, the bathhouse composes a cycle. Residents arrive and add their laundry to a machine, then proceed through changing stalls, bays of lockers, and a chamber of showers before entering a long elliptical pool. This pool leads to a set of sauna chambers, an outdoor pool along the same ellipse, and an onsen chamber to close the sequence.
As a whole, the bathhouse is an experiential loop held together by a bar of supportive infrastructure that reflects the building's position above as a residence in the park. A delicate ramp carries the park transect into the ground, ducking beneath an elliptical path and touching down at the entry in a rocky garden.
Looking more closely, the bathhouse holds a series of open bays for practical communal function. Restrooms, lockers, benches, laundry machines, and folding tables are open to one another. Plumbing objects sprout from infrastructural feet that register with greater presence above in the park and residences. Here they offer small hand-washing sinks and private stalls. The long sides of the bath bar, bracketed within the ellipse, fold open and direct flooding to wash through, where it can drain through grates or sink into the rocky garden.
Closer still, the elliptical bath rejoins the central bar at mid-sequence, slipping open a curved wall in time for bath users to change out their laundry. A trail of wet footprints charts this task. One walks past tables where residents perch their kids and talk while folding baskets full of laundry, past curtained changing stalls that thicken the park wall, and small carts that carry bottles and soaps and towels.
Resting on concrete tables, the machines sit above the floodline and hold out narrow metal counters for loading. The harborside wall folds its glazing outward to look over the outdoor portion of the bath ellipse and the ocean beyond. Passing back through the curved wall, one can immerse their body in a cedar sauna steam. Thoroughly heated, a person slips out the door to plunge into the cold water of the outdoor pool, cast simply in concrete among the bay's rocks that are hidden and revealed by the tides.
Finally, one goes back inside where small tubs and buckets wash the body. The wall peels back to exit the bath loop, returning a person to the changing room. There they gather their laundry in the subterranean bar space before returning to the bright world above. Sunlight infiltrates from the breezy harbor side across the tiled floor, and the city seen through the park is cast in green light as eyes adjust to the contrast between these environments. Fluorescent lighting illuminates the tiny glossy tiles that scale to the bodies engaged in changing clothes behind curtains. This provides a minimum and respectful privacy.
The relationship of bodies within the bath has never been a neutral one. As a site of intense social performance, the bathhouse makes visible the prejudices of its society. The film A Fantastic Woman cites these conflicts in its portrayal of a trans woman's experience in today's Santiago, Chile. It is imperative that this space offer a capable frame for different bodies to hold value within public life. In our research and design, the bathhouse as an anchor for urban housing and infrastructure is explicitly queer space.
In our research, we also found ways in which the bath extended into living space. In Hudson Yards Equinox Hotel, the wall dissolves to celebrate the bath object. Enclosure fully dissipates in Antevilla, where bath and pipe stand proud of the wall. The finished material and degree of plumbing visibility present in these two projects signify competing aesthetic sensibility. The first of minimalist luxury, and the second of aestheticized utility.
This building takes on the latter position in its focus on the most necessary and operational components of urban life. Deep steel channels frame the room from above and establish direct structural connection with the bath object, its 2x4 board form visible. A timbre door slides back to show the smoothly tiled shower, temporary greenhouse. Fixtures elevated here not through luxury finish, but by making room for small pleasures. To the left, the framing wall is bare gypsum board with evident hardware and on-seam channel affixing counter. In orchestrating the infrastructural ends of simple urban life, most of the apartment is left open to its occupants' desires.
The bar of apartments is laid out with this ethos. Bath objects situate interiorized personal space while circulation transitions outward. The deep minimum units are entered through an airy parkside hall and open to the ocean-facing zone of porches that can privatize or stitch together multiple units. Community is incremental. Conventional or chosen families can choose to rent and conjoin multiple units, increasing both their fixture counts and frontage. A polyamorous group of 4 might stretch out a huge bed across 2 units and use the neighboring 2 as an open kitchen and dining area for their many friends. Parents of young children might rotate open the central partitions of 2 units in sequence to form a distributed play and bedroom area near the kitchen, while the next unit is used as their bedroom and study. A student in one unit might visit the elderly woman next door for dinner on their adjoining porches. This system blurs the difference between room and unit.
Though independent units can share porch space when they choose to open up, the deep interiors are more private. The distributed bath objects functionally mark the extents of radiant heating and perceptually establish area for rest and play. Dispersion of fixture produces diagonal view to the water and cross ventilation.
The seaside face is a zone for negotiation where residents understand and connect the benefits of neighborliness. Objects spill out of the personal apartment space and into the sunny expanse where concrete slab transitions to steel grate. 3 tracks of sliding enclosure frame this area to modulate interaction and temperature.
Deep beams signify the transition between, tapering in profile as loads lighten and cantilever out. Bath objects stack loads and plumbing, bringing them to ground. Between these bath stacks, permanent walls divide every 2 units, alternating with rotating partition walls between. Electric connections and storage gravitate to the permanent walls and leave the rotating ones free for reconfiguration. On the more public side of these internal plumbing stacks, C-channel glass makes an opaque wall between hall and apartment. Entry is socially insulated by a rack for coats, shoes, and all other accumulating objects involved in leaving or coming home.
In the hall, bath objects express themselves through tiled mirror that reflects what's behind. Laundry is hung to dry on the operable grate and window system at the building's perimeter, where they register outward as the changing wall of colorful flags in the park. The character of accumulation here reveals the character of the neighbors.
The apartment is serviced by rooftop tanks, pumps, and controls. Clean water services showers and sinks, while the resulting gray water is reused internally or finds its way into the park's gardens for irrigation. Small, insulated saunas use heaters and release some steam into the stair. The bathhouse below responds to flood risk. The dashed line represents the highest water line possible. If a king tide combined with a flood and 50 years of sea level rise, it would reach slightly below the ceiling. Water would wash unobstructed through the bathhouse without causing damage and eventually drain.
The public bathroom emerged with industrialized labor in cities like London and soon accumulated the ritual functions of maintaining and enforcing gender standards. Cottaging, or queer cruising in public restrooms, made evident an underpublic, where unwanted bodies and behavior could imperfectly evade mainstream culture and form their own attachments. The utility of these spaces in their initial design and subsequent reconfiguration provides for us an aesthetic of the ordinary and infrastructural. We studied projects like House DVH, where an architectural editing process reused modernism to create residential space. In this housing project, we operated on an architectural body to mark contemporary dreams of accessible and generous intimate space.
Under the apartments, the ground remains free to shelter park visitors at the water's edge. The repeated rational geometries of the apartment collide with the more eccentric lines of the bathhouse below. The combined geometries result in a centered, slightly eccentric figure. The lightweight, transparent enclosure of sliding doors enables more life to take place in the building's undercarriage. It acts as an entry lobby for the bathhouse and as a front door for the apartments above. The restrooms in the bathhouse are public, welcoming visitors from the eccentric stair at the center of the building's footprint.
The building offers gestures of care and public participation through distributed plumbing that enriches life at the waterfront. Foot showers wash away sand, hoses provide gray water from the building to sustain the park's greenery, and fish cleaning sinks allow fisher people to use everything they catch. Inside the enclosure, heavy concrete tables invite picnic lunches and benches make room for conversation while families wait to board the whale-watching boat.
The sheltering edge of the building's undercarriage tapers, and below the concrete elliptical pool pushes gently out into the bay. The park's transect from the whale pavilion, a long boardwalk, to dock is full of crossing paths. From this vantage, the extremes of life on the waterfront meet. Children playing in the park, elders carrying their laundry, and fishers cleaning their catch share the space. The park is again filled with labor as well as recreation, with room for different bodies to visibly occupy the city and use its infrastructure for their own forms of life.
The apparatuses for water operation in the building and park register on the sea-facing facade where they rest atop the roof. They signal varied roles, rainwater collection, storage, filtration, and heating, through their figural presence on the roofline, moving downward through drain pipes where they trace the vertical circulation on the park side. Plumbing's structural role within insulated cores is evident on both faces, where piped columns bring the building to rest on the ground. These infrastructures register again below ground on the sea facade, when the glazed face folds open to welcome breezes or flooding to wash through. Rocks pile up to reflect the gentle underwater slope that carries the bay from the bathhouse's concrete pool edge out into the ocean.